John. There are a few things there that would need to be clearly clarified. One is that there is no native title claims on any waters in or around Cairns. The second thing is that there was no Yarrabah residents or Yarrabah people involved in the 7:30 footage. So having said that, John, just feel that the 7:30 documentary didn't actually, it wasn't fair and equal in regards to some of the information that's being put out there in the general public.
All right. Can you be specific, Vince?
Well, the documentary wasn't conclusive in regards to the illegal sale of turtles and dugongs, and it actually purported that they've identified the sale. There were only boxes coming through the Cairns airport, and the author did not know the contents of those boxes.
What do you think was in them?
Well, if they are Koolite boxes, any number of things could have been in it. I guess it's just an assumption. It could be toys, could be anything, but there are also traditional people actually taking sustenance for their own intake. So, as I said, it's pretty well inconclusive whether there is a full-on commercial selling of these turtles and dugongs. I do believe that traditional owners are obligated to actually work with the agencies to stamp out rogue hunters and or the illegal sale of our natural resources. And we at Yarrabah have been doing that for over 3 years with Minister Curtis Pitt. We've actually formed a Yarrabah Hunters Committee to identify what appropriate management practices would need to be implemented that is consistent with the compliance with local legislation here, John.
Now, Vince, are you satisfied, and last time you were on the program you were saying, look, we've got some measures in hand whereby these people responsible, the rogues responsible for the slaughter at Green Island, won't be doing it again. Talk to me about those measures and how successful you believe they've been.
Well, I believe that the government actually let us down in this regard, John. There has been no follow-through, especially with the community, the traditional owners, with the perpetrators. We have not seen any agents of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority come over to Yarrabah, engage with the Yarrabah people in regards to identifying who these perpetrators are and the full penalty that would need to be meted out to these people.
So another fizzer.
Well, that's correct, and we're always willing to work in with the appropriate agencies in regards to compliance. It's taken the taste of these natural resources out of our grandchildren's mouth, and it's the intergenerational issue of compliance and making sure that we have natural resources to pass on not only to our generations but future generations of the people in the region, because we all make up the region, John.
All right, Vince, thank you for comments today. Vince is the former mayor of Yarrabah. Colin Niquez is on the line. Colin Riddell. Hello, Colin.
G'day, John.
Good to have you on the program. Sorry I couldn't get to you last week. It was just bloody busy. But Greg Hunt came on shortly after I saw you, and we had quite a lengthy chat about the situation following the ABC television program. Did you hear what Vince Mundraby had to say then?
Yeah, I did. And look, I respect Vince, and I also respect Seth Bormile from over there, but he made a few incorrect statements. One, he said there was no Yarrabah person involved. Well, Seth Bormile is a proud Yarrabah man from over there, and he was on the show where he openly declared that the turtle and dugong meat is traded as far down as Melbourne by non-Indigenous. Well, I've said that all the time, that there's just as many non-Indigenous as Indigenous killing it, so fact one wrong there, Vince. And also, he did state that, those eskies on the carousel weren't identified was in them. That is correct, and those ones there. But you can't deny the fact that the airport source had contacted me over a year ago, who told me that 60 kilos a day, 7 days a week for 7 years is in those eskies of turtle and dugong meat, which I rang and spoke to a chap out there, the head of Acres called Gary Marcos, and he told me that his custom officers see it every day, hundreds of turtle eggs, turtle and dugong meat in those eskies from Horn Island. So Glenn Elms rang him the next day when he was the Shadow Minister of Environment, and he also had the same conversation with the head of Aquis out there, and he confirmed exactly the same thing to him. So I don't believe that they had toys in them, and I don't believe for a second that the flights aren't full of turtle and dugong meat to come down there, because the custom officers tell us. So I'd like to dispute that with Vince. And, for them to keep saying that, they need help with these poachers and these people kill them, they don't know who they are. They live their neighbours over there. Just give them up. They don't need investigators to go over there. Just ring up and give them up to Durham and say these people are doing it every day. It gets very annoying when you hear that sort of stuff. And, we've been accused of all sorts of stuff since that program went to air. But, the reaction we've had is massive. Sea Shepherd have joined us fully now. It's on every one of their sites. I just did an interview with National Geographic. The pressure on Anna Bligh now is probably unbearable. Why they exclude one part of Queensland from the Animal Cruelty Act is being exposed to all of the nation and the world now. And I think Tony Burke's office's email inbox will be chock-a-block, because Sea Shepherd alone have got 50,000 people in Australia that spam the email boxes when something like this comes to fruition. I was approached yesterday by ACF, CAFNIC. Everybody wants a piece of it now, John. What you and I have been fighting for the last 2.5 years, no one wanted to get interested in. Now they're all clamouring over themselves because they can see some membership in it, But
now that it's
done it for the right reasons.
Now that it's becoming fashionable, almost. It's a bit early to say that. Look, I was so heartened by what the Shadow Federal Minister had to say about this the other day, basically even in translation saying, look, we are actually making traction, we're gaining traction here now, and we could even look forward to, I think, whatever he said, 18 months' time to have got across the line with legislation without loopholes. But I acknowledge what you're saying about the traditional rights, if you like, the traditional hunting rights. There really is almost a last-ditch determined stand to avoid any sort of intervention or any sort of modification of those rights. And that's going to be interesting to see how that goes over the next 3 months too, because I've had events on this program in the past talking about all sorts of things that needed to be done to avoid this going on. Well, he seems to have come out in a different direction altogether today.
Yeah, and we're copping that too. They're claiming that, I had to correct something on the ABC report when they said that when Rupert and his colleagues were up there was no colleagues. We hired a local bloke's boat at full charter rate and took that up there. The only people involved with that was Bob Irwin, myself and Rupert.
Yeah.
They tried to paint a picture there was a whole crew up there, or the sea captain was involved. He was innocent. He got a hell of a shock when he found out who he was, And yet people, they're going to try and tar us, and I'm expecting all this, and it's all happening anyway, but we know the truth, and the truth's out there. And even when I actually filmed the ABC interviews with Rupert myself, so that we have a total record of what was said, and I interrupted their interview because they said to Rupert, you and your colleagues up there, and he didn't have any colleagues up there, it was just him and his glasses and his camera equipment, So we just need to, make sure that people do know the facts. There was nothing untoward. No one was paid off. No one was enticed. He did walk into the Ibis shop and ask if they sold turtle and dugong meat just to see if it was openly for sale, and they said no. That's a fact. But he didn't try to bribe anyone. He didn't ask anyone to sell him any stuff, People are just coming out of the woodwork now to try to cover themselves. He was up there for 12 days without anyone knowing what he was doing. And, he's a Sea Shepherd undercover operative, or former, and he rang me a year ago on Skype and asked, how can he help? And I said, well, we need current footage. People don't believe it happens. Well, they believe it now, And then they say it's an isolated incident and they're rogues, and now people are saying that wasn't what they weren't traditional hunters. If you see the film that I put on my Facebook page and on the YouTube page, I show more footage than they do. When they were cutting that turtle up, they took about 150 eggs out of it at the end. They put half in an esky on the boat and half stayed in the community. So that boat was heading off somewhere else with that meat.
Sure.
That wasn't going in there. And the bloke that was they filmed, they blurred his face. On the footage, he actually, Rupert said to him, how many do they kill a week? And he said, 3 or 4 a week. And that was one community where they filmed the turtle killing 3 or 4 a week. So multiply that by the rest of the, And it's not just the Torres Strait. We shouldn't be just pointing to them. It's all around the northern coastline. In the Kimberleys, it's rampant, and we're wiping them out. And no one's doing nothing but you and I and a few groups. So.
Well, we're making headway, and that's important at this stage, and I'm pleased we are. I'm pleased the ABC issue, or the ABC program, has brought the issue to a head again, and I think it's going to stay there now. I'm reasonably confident we've got people now in the southeast corner banging on Anna Bligh's door and demanding she acknowledge something has to be done. That's a big step forward.
Oh, look, it's running rampant, and it won't go away. And I'm not the bloke to solve it. Now the Indigenous people are going to get together with the lawmakers and work out how to do this, and if there's a way, and I still want that moratorium, to determine how many's left. I'm still not agreeing to Indigenous uncontrolled hunting of turtle and dugong until we know how many's out there. Until we know that, no one should be making any promises to anybody. We should close that loophole, which we're going to get done if the LNP get over the line on the 24th of March. We need that to happen for starters, and then we need that moratorium, and then we're going to find out how many are in the water. If there's not enough there, well, then it's got to stop. But if there is enough there, well, then you've got to have a legitimate, regulated process to determine how many come out of the water.
Sure. Good on you, Cole. Thank you. Cole Riddell on the line with